Missouri, a tutorial behind the scenes, an inside look at 3 exercises that are a big part of most workout programs that I don't think people realize how impactful they can be if they know the intent behind it. So I'm going to try to give you that level and that layer of intent. So I'm going to start with a big movement, and I'm going to use this as part of my workout to kind of give you a little bit more behind the scenes too of how that works. So I'm going to start with the dumbbell row, okay? And this is not the weight that I'm going to be rowing with today, but I'm going to warm up with it and show you some of the setup and the really important details behind the setup so that we can be successful. And success to me is getting as much out of the row, which I would argue is a strength exercise, and getting as much out of that row as we can in order to improve strength so that the back muscles have a better chance of fighting the war against this, against this, against this. All day we spend in that posture. And so I want to give us a little bit more armor on the backside with some exercise selection and thoughts and how do we get this position mastered, which is the dumbbell row, position and the movement. So here we go. Let's go over the starting position. First of all, most people, when they start, they kind of start here and here. This is bad. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get you a little bit more of a wider stance. And the phrasing I like for this, the analogy I have, is that if you are going to help somebody, you're on the edge of a dock and the water level's low, you do not want to be here and or here and or here helping somebody from off the boat onto the dock. What would you do? You'd probably get a little bit wider of a base of support. You'd get your hand grabbing the bench, maybe here. If you have wrist issues, okay, you can go knuckle on your row as an aside. But what I want you to do though is to remember that analogy that we want to be strong out of this position, okay? This is not strong. So I digress. Let's go back. I'm going to go ahead and pull. One of the things I see often too with this row, okay, is that people get confused with the action that we're trying to create, which is retraction at the shoulder blade, okay? And then this motion here, I think a lot of people don't know this position here at the shoulder. They don't know the golf ball and the tee analogy. So what happens is, and I'm wearing a sweatshirt, it'll come off soon enough, but what happens is they end up here and saying, is this right? And they're like, well, does it feel right? Well, no. So getting that feel of almost as if, okay, you're starting a lawnmower, right? Some people call them lawnmower rows. Some people even drag more. They start way out in front and then they pull. I think the basic premise of the row to get here to here is enough. I think you can get this. So from here to here with a neutral and not here. A lot of people try to press through their other arm because they're going to try to help the row. Okay. So, and maybe I should have done this. This is what the row should look like. Okay. Here's the setup. Here. That's it. Okay. I'm going to go over the 3 common mistakes. I'm going to break it down one more time. So the first thing, people get too narrow of a base of support so they can't pull. Second, they get pulling and this foot is here, so they have to alter their flight path so they're up here. Third, I think the flight path at the top needs to stop when the elbow gets to the rib cage. Super important, to the rib cage. I'm gonna move in. When you finish the action, okay, you're done. See this position here? No, yes, no, yes. I want you to feel it back here. That's what a row is really designed to affect. And so when you get to this finishing position and you're like, yeah, I feel in the front of my shoulder. Well, yeah, that's not what we want. I want the back of the shoulder and the back muscles, okay? So those are the 3 most common things. You should not feel this in your lower back, should not feel it in the front of the shoulder. That is the dumbbell row. So I'm gonna move on next to the snatch, which I think is one of the more powerful exercises. Let me do a couple more reps, just because I said this was a warm-up. There we go. 2, 3. And the snatch, we're gonna do this three different ways. So the snatch, just from a frame of reference, the snatch is a big mover of muscles. So it recruits a lot of muscles. We have to be efficient. We have to use our lower body in conjunction with our upper body at the same time. Let me show you, and then I'll break it down depending on which version we choose today. And I mean we, mean you. So the first, the rough idea is about mid-shin from here, snatch, okay? And then back down. Some people come here, and then they come all the way down if you're training for the Olympic CrossFit Games, okay? We are not, so we don't teach that. Especially the stronger females that we train, what happens is they can't press as much as they snatch. So we're gonna say that they can't decelerate a 40-pound dumbbell. Yep, we have ladies doing 40-pound kettlebell or dumbbell snatches. So when they're coming down, they can't decelerate that much. They can't row it, they can snatch it because it's leg driven, right? So we're, from a safety perspective, gonna follow the science that says, well, you have to meet your client where they are. And so that's why we come down here on the way down. So that is a dumbbell snatch, okay? The other thing I like to point out is the dumbbell snatch is very much rectilinear, okay? So from here, when we look at the snatch, I do not want the dumbbell out here. So the here, okay, straight up. Sometimes I say it's like pulling a bucket out of a well. In Eureka, Missouri, it's very common. People know what a well is. In Manhattan, New York City, people don't know what a well is. So not very helpful. But the idea is the same. Here, straight up. Okay, so that is the dumbbell snatch. Now, I have this guy here because we're gonna go over the landmine snatch, which I think is a very helpful thing to learn if your shoulder range of motion is such that getting the dumbbell overhead is problematic. So what happens here is I'm gonna teach this and get you to get this concept of, we're not just gonna learn the snatch, but I want you to see this action of, we're gonna explode almost laterally, which is kind of nice. So I'm gonna show it this way, and then I'll turn around and show a little bit more from a different angle. So I'm gonna be from here, okay, pushing through my feet, and you can have a split stance, staggered stance. I think I end up, when I finish the set, in a square stance. So I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna push, right there, and then come back down. So I'm gonna push, okay? Kind of notice this lateral action again, a little bit pushing to the side. Like you can keep square or you can come up on your toe, okay? Show you one more. Okay, down and then back. So I think the other side, that would be helpful. Well, I guess this is just a better angle. So let's see, this should just be a better angle. So from here, right, you see how it's really a unique application of force into the ground. That is a landmine snatch. Again, when we do snatches, so we're clear, this should be done at the beginning of your workout. 1, 2, you're gonna need to rest when you switch sides. I think a lot of people go right into the other side. Whoa. That either means the weight isn't heavy enough for you to need that rest, or you're forgetting that we actually want the quantifiable side to side to be treated equally in respects to preparation for that set, meaning they should be rested, and that we need to alternate what side we start on. Okay, so now we did the landmine snatch, we did the dumbbell snatch, the penultimate. Now there's a couple different ways here. My friend Clifton Harsky is a master at this, but I want to teach you the kettlebell snatch in 60 seconds. So what I'm going to teach you here is, if you have the kettlebell swing down, this will be a breeze for you, okay? But what we're going to try to do is just learn what the swing, okay? And I like, me personally, a kickstand swing always feels good, okay? So I'm just going to kickstand, okay? And then eventually you learn how to get it just about 3/4 and then all the way up, okay? And the same thing can apply here that we talked about earlier with the dumbbell on the way down. When you get it to the top, you can bring it back down here, okay? So here, you can bring it to here. I would advise not wearing a sweatshirt as these guys can hit with a hoodie, I should say, because then these guys hit you in the face. So let's show you from the front, I guess, and then I'll show you another thought with this. So first of all, show you from the front, just so you can see. I like a little bit of a kickstart here, okay? And then, again, get it most of the way, and then all the way. And then at that top position, okay, try to keep your ribs in neutral, not like mine, which are arching right now. So make sure you keep your ribs down. Now, from here, again, there's a thought of, can you do it more? I don't know if you saw that from the side, but can you do it more vertical? Okay, versus more swing style. So there are two different schools of thought, and they probably, maybe that wasn't clear enough, but the path of the kettlebell can change. I think it's you can get comfortable in both more of a straight out, or if you already know the dumbbell, when you go to learn the kettlebell, you'll probably be okay with a closer version rather than the swing style. The reason I said the swing too is because when I end up snatching, I am thinking of that same path, and then the only difference is I just don't stop it. One of the things and exercises that we teach people too is we teach them the swing / gunslingers or outside swings in addition to a clean. So we teach them the clean or the high pull, and then we teach them progressions out of it. There's your snatch, right? It depends on the individual. So I'll rephrase it this way. We get 70-year-olds who've had knee replacements to learn the dumbbell snatch or the kettlebell snatch. Mostly the dumbbell snatch, because most people, just from the technical side, we're not going to take 30 minutes to teach them to snatch. We're just going to get them to the kettlebell snatch. We're just going to get them to do the dumbbell snatch because we know we can. Now, shoulder issues. How do the shoulders show up? Well, guess what? That's where the barbell comes in, right? So when we have the snatch in a program, I'm not thinking everyone has to snatch. Like, no. But they do have to do some version of it. Now, it could be the high pull, right? Boom. If they have shoulder range of motion limitations, then we could do that. Could be the clean if we want to get them to pause. It could be the lunge and a clean. So the snatch is very interesting. I started the sentence of describing the snatch as a big, big mover. And I'm going to go back to that because we need to teach power development. So whether you're 20 or whether you're 70, you need to be able to put force into the ground and have fast twitch capability because it's life. So the idea, again, is behind the snatches to learn how to apply force into the ground. And then ideally, you're decelerating it at the top. You're not letting it go. But to decelerate and then to do that again. We're going to keep the reps low, 3, 5, maybe 7. If you're doing more, it's probably too light. Okay? So that's the snatch. Now, let's get into the cross-under / curtsy lunge. But before that, I'm going to do another warm-up set. And the reason I want to do this is sort of hidden. But what I'm going to do a warm-up set. Again, just 6 here. Notice what happens here too. So I'm a little lazy. I'm a little rushed. Trying to get through this. I didn't have my back foot up. The heavier I go, the more I need all systems go. Hand, knee, foot, and a good position so that I can be successful. I'll do a better job on this side, okay? Better posture. Here we go. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sweet. And again, the reason here is I want to show you a work set and what that looks like. I'm going to do it for the snatch. Nobody cares about the lunge, how much I can lunge, but I'm going to show you for the lunge. And in a second here, and we're going to go behind the scenes of a curtsy lunge and why it's so different. But before that, I want to show you work sets and what the intensity should look like and what you have to do when you're doing a set. So that's why I wanted to get one more warm-up set in before I do an actual work set and also do the curtsy lunge. So let's do this. We're going to, I'm going to show you the dumbbell curtsy lunge. And again, this level of breakdown is more reserved for my coaches, but I'm doing this as reminders to them because some of them are experts in different areas and they know the lunges, they know the rows, they know, but putting them all together in this sequence so that people can have a 10,000 foot view is my job. So that's what I'm trying to do. All right, so let's go over a lunge. I think everyone knows what a reverse lunge is, but let's go over that real quick. So a reverse lunge is here and back, okay? From the front, here and back. Now, what's the difference between that and a split squat? A split squat is stationary, okay? Sometimes we used to call them stationary lunges, but the act of lunging is different than the act of squatting. So the lunge is a change in position of the foot, whereas the squat, it's the same. So here, coming down, straight up, that's a split squat, okay? Just for a frame of reference. Again, a lot of people mistake those two. So let's do this. The next layer of complexity that we're adding in order to get to the curtsy lunge is it probably doesn't exist in a lot of programs, but I want to add it. And I want to help you learn the difference between a curtsy lunge and a reverse lunge. In order to do so, I'm going to have a inline lunge, okay? So I'm going to step exactly behind the other foot and not do a curtsy lunge just yet. So I'm going to step and make this foot disappear, okay? Almost, I call it parallel parking, okay? And have a couple reminders here. So the first reminder on any lunge, we're going to go to the curtsy lunge here in a second, but on any lunge, this foot is the worker. This foot's kind of just hanging out. I'm going to call it 70-30. The bottom position, depending on how heavy it is probably going to be a different percentage, but ideally, the front foot is the worker. That's number one. Number two, we are looking for this to be more hip dominant. So at the bottom position, let me go back to here's a reverse lunge. You probably can't see it, but when I go to now you'll see it because the dumbbell's there. But when I go to the inline lunge, okay, I'm stepping straight behind, okay? And the hip dominance that we have, chest over knee over ankle, is huge, huge. And what happens here is that people don't feel their knee, they feel it working, and the muscles around it working, but it doesn't bother them the same way that a lunge would if we were here, okay? So once again, the idea here is simple. We are trying to incorporate for our clients on a large percentage, so using the bell curve, a large percentage of people need less knee stuff and focus and more hip. So, I'm gonna grab some water real quick. So, the penultimate exercise in this, okay, is this curtsy lunge. And so the curtsy lunge specifically, when we get into the details of it, I want you to go bowling, okay? So roll that strike, okay? Chest over knee over ankle, all right? Let's go to the other side. Chest over knee over ankle. See a lot of people do this different. And then from the front, okay? Most importantly, you're not gonna be out here, okay? I see a lot of people do that. I wanna remind us that the focus on this is stability of the knee over the ankle and our hip to be confident out here, okay? So that's the goal there. Again, we're trying to get into the hip, all right? There's exercises that we do. Watch this, right? There's the half kneeling windmill. There's exercises that we do out of these positions. And I think learning these positions and the themes within them, how they weave together. I think I read a lot of books, and sometimes the more books you read, the more you realize that the themes of a lot of these books are similar, and or you can see where the authors like worked together. And I think the authors of the exercises that we try to teach people are the same. And that is hip dominance. We're trying to achieve less knee pain, less low back pain. How do we get more glute recruitment? All of these things are true. And so, again, from the front, the biggest thing on the curtsy lunge that we have to remind people, this is the working leg, okay? I bring my foot up so that I get into neutral at the top. Okay, let's show it again. This is probably where the sweatshirt comes off. So, I'm going to show you an unfinished lunge. Okay. So here and then here. This is a lazy lunge. Okay. My foot's out here. Where's the emphasis? I'm on this foot. Where is there no emphasis? On this one, which is our intended target. We're missing our target. My pelvis isn't in neutral. We're missing in every way, shape, or form. So what we want to do, start and finish in neutral. Okay, get down there. Okay, most of the weight's on this foot just a little bit. Push up to neutral. Okay, finish, squeeze from this hip. Have purpose and intent behind the exercise, squeeze, and then bring both cars back together in the garage at the same time. Let's show it from the front. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the wrong way. Okay, what a lot of people do out here, and then kind of back up to here, and their pelvis is out front. The pelvis is like a bowl, right? We don't want to spill water out the front. We want neutral, so we don't spill water. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back into this is the wrong way, and then the right way, start and finish in neutral. I almost start with a little toe tap so I can feel that my tension is on this side. Curtsy lunge, push to finish. Both cars back in the garage at the same time. Neutral pelvis, not spilling water out the front. Bam. Awesome exercise. Everyone should learn at some degree how to do a curtsy lunge. Now, again, I started with saying that there's layers to the curtsy lunge, right? So we started with the reverse lunge, learning the lunge pattern, what we're looking for and the difference between that and the split squat. Then I went to the inline lunge, which could be, right? If someone can't do a reverse lunge, they're gonna start at a split squat. And if someone can't do that, then we're gonna do a TRX assisted version of it, right? We talked about this before, but there are layers to exercises where we can remove a layer of intensity or complexity so that the exercise can be done. That is the game. That's why coaches exist. So usually when we list modality specific things, which we don't, it is because we have intent behind it. But in this instance, in a curtsy lunge, we don't really care. Like if you're doing a TRX assisted, if you're using a dumbbell, we don't really hold it up. The one thing we don't do a lot of with people is remind people that the kettlebell, I like it in the hand of the leg that goes back. However, guess what's gonna happen at the bottom? I'm not done yet. See that little difference there? So sometimes that's the same weight kettlebell. Sometimes what happens is a dumbbell is better. So in that bottom position, now I have full range of motion, okay? So dumbbell probably is better in the situation where you don't have a lot of access to equipment, then use your kettlebell. Just understand this also might be, and I don't have it right here in front of me, but this also, I can do this. This also could be where we do a foot elevated curtsy lunge, because now what happens is we have a little elevation. So you're gonna stand on the edge of it. There's your curtsy, full range, okay? Getting down to the ground. All right, so the challenges that we create with every exercise depends on the person and also depends on the equipment, but every piece of equipment can also be limited with what it does. So the kettlebell, a little bit further distance to the ground, so that affects our flight path. So I started this by saying the intent behind every exercise matters. I started this also by saying that this is one of my favorite circuits. It takes a while, snatch, a curtsy lunge, and a one-arm row, but we get a lot of bang for our buck. We get a postural with the row, we get the explosive need that everyone needs, right? And then with the snatch and whatever version of the snatch that you get, and then we get a lower body strengthening exercise in a different plane of motion, and arguably an athletic one that kind of opens up your hips because you have to almost swivel, right? If you can kind of see that from the side here. So when you're getting down and then swiveling down and then swiveling, sometimes people, even if they go to here, right, we can get them to feel like they're sitting into their hips. So I started by saying this, though, that these are really, really big exercises. I think the statistic was that the snatch uses 76% of your muscles in your body that exist in your body, 76% in order to complete that exercise. So we have a lot of exercises where we're looking at, all right, is this total body? Is this total body? This is a functional. I would argue that the snatch has a very, very high functional transfer. The learning curve is a little steep, but if you take a little time, teach your client, teach yourself, learn how to do this, I think the snatch, excuse me, phenomenal exercise. Now, this is the fun part where I get to sort of, I'm not even gonna say show off because everyone's stronger and weight is subjective, but I wanna show you a work set, okay? Now, it's obviously too long between sets, but I wanna show you a work set and what that looks like. So I'm gonna do the one arm dumbbell row, and then I'm gonna show you what an actual rest time also looks like, because I think most people don't rest between sides. One, most people don't exercise at the right intensity. Two, and then three, when you don't know what the right intensity looks like or feels like, I think it should look like, WTF, why the face? If I see a client come up for an exercise and they're like that, we won because they worked out at the right intensity. So picking the right exercise selection so that you can achieve the desired exercise intensity, so that you can have the exercise progression and outcome from working out and strength training is my job. But as I'm outlining right here, it's sort of simple but complicated. Once you master the form, then ideally you can add in intensity to it. Let's do just that. So I'm not gonna do that many reps. Let's go to 10, okay? I have a 100-pound, 95-pound dumbbell. We're gonna go to 10. Here we go. Nine, 10. Okay, 10 reps. Now, I'll set the timer. I won't be able to, if I go right now, no way. No way will I be able to do 10 reps on the other side. And what's it gonna look like? It's gonna look like crap, right? I'm gonna be tired. I'm gonna be, probably my form's gonna stink. No. So I'm gonna have a less likelihood of getting 10 on that side. So once again, the exercise intensity that you need to have in order to induce adaptation is probably on the other side of 30 to 60 seconds rest. That's a great one-liner. All right, and then we'll show the other side. And then I'm gonna do this for the snatch too. I'm gonna show you dumbbell and then kettlebell. And I'll show you two different versions of, let's do this. I'll show you two different versions of the snatch at intensity, and then the snatch at a little less intensity, but higher reps to show you what that looks like. And what, this is also interesting. I'm gonna tell you where I fatigue, okay? So you see it. This is also pacing and me pacing. I like to get through the workouts fast. I would rather get fast. That was 60 seconds rest, by the way. So for some of you, that might feel like forever. For others, that's not enough, but that's just between sides. Again, we have to rest in between sides. Okay, here we go, 10. Okay, now, again, probably gonna need more than this, but I'm gonna rest between exercises. Okay, so if I was doing this and I only had 3 exercises to do and I worked out 19 times per week, like some YouTube experts, then I would be taking 3.5 minutes rest between sets. That's not me. So I have different outcomes that I want. I want strength training to be a part of my life, not the actual goal of life. So let's do this. Again, timing the rest. And I'm gonna set up these 2 little rests. I'm gonna do a dumbbell snatch for 5. Again, the idea here is to show you the exercise intensity and what it looks like. Okay? A lot of times I find myself looking at videos, exercise videos, and I think most people deliver the exercises with form correctly because the weight is lighter than they normally would. And I think sometimes when you see somebody working out, you can see and somebody who's had experience working out, worked out since 12 and has been training people since 21. Technically, I train people in college too, but I digress. So that would be 18. I think you can kind of see the behind the scenes more of it. Now, I'm stalling, but I'm gonna go 5, because I started on the right side over here. I'm gonna go 5, and then 5. Right hand snatch, left hand snatch. Here we go. Resting in between sides. Reload. Okay. Now, once again, reminding you, we are taking rest between sides. Okay? You can hear my breath. You can hear the wind. All right? Took my breath away a little bit. Cue the song from Top Gun. And I think when you do this correctly, this is the outcome, right? Should be winded, heart rate should be up, and you should need rest. I mean, it might be too little. I haven't done this weight in a while. So this is a good reminder for me. I need to keep these in my routine, but I usually do kettlebells, and I'll show you the difference in kettlebells too. Some argue that they are a little bit more flowy, and that's why you can do more reps. This is a 60-pound dumbbell. I'll use a 24K kettlebell, which is a 53 for a different set of reps, and I want you to hear the wind when I'm done with it. So it's not the same, which is not a bad thing, just that's how that is. So again, resting between sides, that was 1 minute. Left side now. Left side, one arm snatch. A little weaker on this side and this shoulder. Okay. I'm gonna time the rest again. 1 minute. What do you think? Did you notice it? Did you see it? I saw it. I felt it. What happened? The ability for me to get here on my right side, and by the way, this is interesting, I show clients this exercise all the time. I bet you 10 times out of 10, I use this side. So when I went here, what happened? This side was like, no, you don't. We don't go that far. So it felt more neutral or more natural to keep neutral. So the dumbbell wanted to be here. So this is important, and I'm gonna watch the tape after this, but this is important because we don't know why we have, if you drive 2 hours a day and your hand on the steering wheel like this, hip forward, hip back, right shoulder back, and you don't know why you have pain on one side of your body, I can't figure it out. What is it? I think, again, back up a second, we often don't know why things just come out of, I just came out of nowhere. Yeah, I have knee pain and then I have elbow pain. I'm like, well, I can have a few theories here, right? You almost play crime scene investigation or CSI. So let's go back. We're gonna do that snatch one more time, okay? And then I'll leave you guys. Final exercise. Let's see the snatch. All right, so we have a 24K kettlebell, 53.3 pounds, I think. And we're gonna go 9 reps per side. And I want you to see the difference, okay? See the difference in form, see the difference in hip dominant, see the difference in swing path. I'm gonna move halfway through the set so you can see from the side, okay? So I'm also, me personally, I always love the split stance. For whatever reason, the lack of symmetry at my hips and my pelvis means that when I train symmetrically, I can have exposure to that lack of symmetry under load. So I like to create asymmetry and train with asymmetry so that I can ideally train both sides with a high likelihood that we can try to address those sides differently. I hope that made sense. Right side, split stance, one arm snatch, 9 reps. I'm gonna switch after 4 in terms of the direction so you can see. Here we go. 1, and then okay, so it's time that rest again. What'd you think? That's a snatch, right? Done differently. And arguably, my wind is probably, once again, it's a little lighter, but I did double the reps. Roughly, I did 9 versus 5. Arguably, I'm breathing maybe a little lighter. So there is a lot to be said for when you look at exercises and the difficulty of exercises. I haven't practiced the dumbbell snatch a lot in the past year. kettlebell snatch because I'm buddies with Cliff, because it feels right for me. I have kettlebells in my basement, home gym, and I think what we are surrounded by tends to immerse itself in us. So that's why this probably feels a little easier. I'm gonna do the same thing. Left arm, one arm snatch from a split stance. Final exercise for today. Then I'm gonna leave you. Hope your day is better weather than here. It is rainy, but it was 65 degrees yesterday. So again, split stance, one arm snatch. I like one swing to kind of kick things off, pun intended. Here we go. And then I'll give you the lateral view too. Let's go lateral. Nine reps on each side. That is an effective total body exercise. When we talk about exercises, I don't necessarily think all of them fit that bill. But using your whole body and learning the positioning of your whole body, like we did with the one arm row, like we did with the curtsy lunge, can alter what you get out of every exercise. So yes, is this a back exercise, shoulder exercise, bicep exercise? Absolutely. The one arm row, staple. However, if I walk into a commercial gym right now, I'd be like, oh, nope. It's so often overlooked. Master the basics before you add more complexity and or more intensity so that you can get more out of it and keep getting more out of it. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Then the other ingredient here is we want to work on round peg, square hole, right? I want you to be able to fit this stuff into your life and not feel like you have to do exercises or modality-specific exercises that might not fit you. So that's it. I'm Coach Kev. Hope you have a great rest of your day.